Talk Show. Yo, it's the Grown Kid Talk Show. Yo, Grown Kid Talk Show. Yo, it's the Grown Kid Talk Show.
Since I'm all about these best of decades and top 10 videos for right now, before we start though, I do want to change up how I do the talk show, how it looks, and maybe add a background. I do have tons of anime, manga, action figures that I could use as a background to give you more of a feel of who I am and stuff, but I do want to make something to whereas it looks better than it does now, so I'm going to work on that after this video. I had already recorded the first part of this, so I might as well continue here. I do have to talk about a few things from last video that a new subscriber and someone commented on in the bottom, so we'll do a little bit of that. But for right now, top 10 albums of the decade by Genius. No clue what's going on here, so let's check it out. I don't even know what would be in my top 10.
2010s are coming to an end, so our Genius community decided to put together their top 100 albums of the decade.
If you didn't know, Genius is, well, Genius, it kind of allows users to put the lyrics to songs, what they mean, certain lyrics, kind of talk about the artist. It's like a Wikipedia for just music songs. Pretty genius of an idea. I actually had to use this in a class I took in college at the Rutgers University in New Brunswick. Shout out to academics because he also went there and graduated from there. But it was extra credit if you went in and like did songs for this. So that was my first introduction to it a few years ago. It was a creative writing class, except it wasn't like the creative writing classes like back in the day that I took where we really just like wrote and typed. This was more like creative writing 2.0 for, you know, the new century. A lot more computer stuff, GarageBand. It was cool. I'm rambling. Let's go.
Here's our top 10.
Communities.
Number 10 is Compton rapper Kendrick Lamar's 2012 major label debut, Good Kid, Mad City.
Okay, alright. This was fire back in the day. I don't know if I'm gonna have to put something under this
Kenny's autobiographical tale of
because I don't want to have the video just not be able to get put up. Kendrick was super dope. And that was one of his best albums, honestly.
Alcoholism and peer pressure.
Swimming Pools Drank was like that huge single, Poetic Justice. Forgot all about that.
7 years. Coming in at number 9 is Solange's Opus 2016's A Seat at the Table.
These are just albums. I thought it would have been just hip hop. I don't know too much of Solange, honestly, at all.
Being a black woman in America, dealing with microaggressions.
I mean, I know it's
policing of black people and the joy and empowerment
Beyonce's
of
sister.
our work. In an essay entitled "And Do You Belong?"
That is
Solange writes, quote,
Solange.
We belong. We built this.
True.
At number 8 is Chicago's Chance the Rapper and his 2013 mixtape Acid Rap.
Oh my gosh.
Acid Rap Chance the
This was
Rapper
fire.
international
Chance was
fame.
super dope.
On the project,
It's kind of sad that his tour didn't really sell that well, so he canceled it. But he is doing the
immediately felt like an album. On number 7 is
All-Star Game. SZA was huge. She had signed to Top Dog Entertainment, Kendrick Lamar's kind of thing. She's one of those artists where she doesn't have to release a lot, and this is why it gets her on this list. That's kind of cool. I like Solange or SZA.
SZA tackles emotional vulnerability.
She was a huge like feature girl too, and she did a lot of vocals for stuff that, you know, her name wasn't necessarily on the track, but she was in there singing. Wow, this was a huge hit. I forgot about this. Yeah, Rihanna's always dope. I mean, she's the unsung queen of it all, honestly.
And pop with a splash of trap cemented
you could put Beyonce ahead of her if you want to. I mean, maybe, but Rihanna definitely has
one of the deepest projects of the decade.
Her own thing going on, where
thirsting for an upcoming
I mean it like this. It's hard to imitate Rihanna, but it's a lot more. It's easier to imitate Beyonce, and that kind of goes into what I was saying about Michael Jordan and LeBron. It's a lot easier to imitate Jordan, even though you'll never be Jordan, you'll never be Beyonce. They have a game that's a lot more inviting for people to try to imitate and take from. So that's where I kind of stand on, Rihanna.
Supposedly reggae-inspired.
You can't really copy Rihanna because she's just so,
someone who appeared on Anti.
But
Drake and his
Beyonce is that too. Oh, first of all, if you're a hater of Drake, go hate by yourself on the side. I'm gonna tell you, I'm a big fan, but I was the biggest hater of Drake back in the day when he like really first coming out. I was on Kendrick with the mixtapes. I was on SZA with the mixtape. I was on, Drake with the mixtapes. If I didn't fuck with your mixtapes before you really popped, I really wasn't messing with you. And then Drake just 2 years I was sleeping on him, and then suddenly it was like he was the man out here. So I mean, all props to him. He drops hits. He dropped a song not too recently. Well, recently it was called War. He's definitely changed his sound up. And he's gone definitely with more of a Canadian accent now. I find that interesting and respectable because he doesn't sound like most Canadian rappers. Add his own twang to it, and I heard he's working on an album, so it's pretty dope. I mean, definitely deserves a spot.
At number 4 is Beyonce's Lemonade.
Oh, I forgot about that. I was talking about Beyonce too. The only one so far the two I'm not really agreeing with here is SZA. SZA. Chance, I'm on the fence still. I know he's done a lot more than music. But if we're talking about albums too, and they really considered Acid Rap an album. His album was, it was okay. I felt like it was a forced okay. Like you were almost pressured and forced into and saying it was like great. That's why they mentioned his mixtape. So I don't know if Chance deserves to be on it right now, and I don't know about SZA, considering the one album they mentioned was 2017. That's in the whole latter half of the decade. But I think at the beginning of the video, let me go back. Did they say something about our votes or something like that? I'm not sure who. So it was Chance. I love that song, Cocoa Butter Kiss. So it was Solange, SZA, and Chance the Rapper right now. So that's 3 out of the ones we've already gone through that I'm not really thinking are. I don't know. We'll have to see. We'll see.
Lemonade hit
we'll see.
With an accompanying
because
HBO visual that drew inspiration.
Mixtapes aren't albums. I don't care what anybody says. They're not albums. I understand that that genre. I was there for that genre when people were making mixtapes and it was literally like an album, but they're non-albums. So already creating, it's so funny in hip hop and rap and the culture, the mainstream popular culture, that's out there. They already break rules to the rules that they set. So we have a top 10 album list, but we're gonna add a mixtape. So I'm not necessarily
as well as her take on country
too sold on that.
Lemonade set the bar higher than thought possible for the musical juggernaut. Beginning our top 3 is Frank Ocean's 2016 album Blonde.
Okay, so Frank Ocean probably was one of the hugest stories of the decade in terms of him being bisexual or whatever his sexual orientation was. It was a huge story and big deal at the time. In fact, it's not that he was one of the first, but he was someone who the story got a lot of traction for whatever reason in the early part of this decade. I didn't necessarily listen to the album. The only thing I remember about this whole album, I can't recall it at the moment, but the only thing I remember was the anticipation for this album was so huge. And shout out to Beyonce, before I forget to say it. She is another person who found a whole new sound in this decade too. You could really tell some of the Jay-Z influences, and she put her twist to it, and I really love that. I love that sound from her. But Frank Ocean, I'm not too sure here. They want Nikes. They looking for a check. Okay, I rap. I know the metaphor. I get it.
As a surprise release the day after his visual woodworking album Endless,
but
Blonde represents Ocean taking control of his career and narrative.
Okay.
From the beat switch on Nights to crooning over a failed relationship on Ivy, Blonde settled Frank Ocean as one of the generation's most celebrated talents.
I don't know.
Number 2,
it was.
The second entry on the list is Kendrick Lamar's 2015 album To Pimp a Butterfly.
Okay, so stop right here. look, I have no problem with your top 10 lists and stuff like that. But for example, we were talking about it last time. You put Red Dead Redemption and Redemption 2 on the same list for some reason. My thing is, I don't believe now entirely the validity of some of these lists and the scores. If we're looking at scores, just pick the album that was better. You're not gonna tell me that Pimp a Butterfly and Good Kid, Mad City are equal albums. Good Kid, Mad City is quite easily the best project Kendrick Lamar made. This album had a lot more work on it, a lot more influence that wasn't totally Kendrick Lamar. That's not a knock and that's not a diss. If you're an artist out there, you know the things that you make when you're trying to do it are always the most pure and genuine form of you. That's not to knock the album, but when you're comparing someone's work, I would like to look at that one person's thing, especially in something so broad like this, you know, their top albums ever and stuff. Don't get me wrong, I love this album, but that Good Kid, Mad City was really Kendrick, pre-Kendrick, before he got super big. And not that that makes the music worse, don't get me wrong here. I know it might sound confusing what I'm trying to say, but King Kunta, which was on this album, you know, it's just hard to say. I can rock with it, but I do not like putting the same artist twice on the list if I'm going to wrap up that little confusing part. I don't want, you're not going to tell me that both these albums are equal, and you're not going to tell me that both these albums got higher critic scores, because again, I don't know what the list is based on, but it's not going to convince me that both of these albums got higher critic scores than other albums by other people in the decade. That doesn't necessarily make sense, and they really should call this hip-hop albums or something else, because I wouldn't know, but I would assume that hip-hop sells the best, but that could be totally wrong, and there could be other genres that aren't represented at all here, and we're already more than halfway through the video, so I'm just not agreeing with the Kendrick Lamar twice.
Yo, it's the Grown Kid Talk Show.